How does a hashtag?
Nope.
How does a hashtag? Nobody likes, which is
How does a hashtag?
How does a hashtag?
How does a hashtag?
How does a
hashtag?
Nobody likes,
Somehow
which is
end up on
designed
Twitter's
to
trending
enrage.
page.
Somehow
Which
end
is
up on
designed
Twitter's
to
trending
enrage.
page.
How does a
Is
hashtag?
designed
Nobody likes,
to
which is
enrage.
How does a hashtag nobody likes, which is designed to enrage, somehow end up on Twitter's trending page? Sorry about that. I'll try to leave that to the professionals next time. On July 3rd, Disney Plus added a video recording of the original Broadway cast of Hamilton. Bringing the mega-hit musical to general audiences unsurprisingly generated an astronomical amount of attention. Many were excited to be able to access this highly influential piece of artwork, but the event was not entirely free of controversy. The hashtag #CancelHamilton began to trend on Twitter on the weekend of July 4th. To put it simply, this caused an uproar. The basis for the movement to cancel Hamilton primarily resides in the show's depiction of America's founding fathers. The show heavily features both Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, two figures who not only owned slaves, but directly helped set up the institution of slavery at the birth of the country. Alexander Hamilton himself is not without blame either. While there is not evidence that he was a slave owner, he did help his wife's family buy and sell black and brown people as property. The movement raises the question of whether it is right to celebrate and profiteer off these troubling figures. Now, I am sure that simply saying this is enough to elicit strong reactions from you. When you hear this, you may think that this is simply another example of that awful cancel culture gone too far, or that these arguments don't necessarily apply to Lin-Manuel Miranda's musical, or you may agree. I don't know, I can't see you, but for now, try to set aside those initial feelings, because not everything here is as it seems. I decided to take a closer look at the hashtag #CancelHamilton on Twitter. A rather intense close look. I used a tool that let me download data on the most recent tweets from a given hashtag. I was able to pull 2,027 tweets, each using the hashtag #CancelHamilton at the end of the day on July 7th. And then, I read them. I read all 2,027. After reading each tweet, I put it into one of a few different categories. Some were clearly advocating for canceling Hamilton. Some used the hashtag to point out their frustrations with cancel culture or the left at large. Some posts argued that Hamilton was not a proper target for this movement. Of course, there were trolls. Some tweets were people simply reporting on the trend, and some people made jokes. And some... well, I really couldn't tell. Maybe they just tweeted the hashtag with no context. Maybe they gave Hamilton a glowing review and then said to cancel Hamilton. These posts confused me, and I categorized them thusly. For posts that were not immediately clear, I looked at the poster's profile to see what kind of things they often did. If I saw lots of trolling tweets, well, I put it as a troll. If they complained about cancel culture a bunch, well, there's that bin for them. Make sense? Cool. So, how many people really want to cancel Hamilton? 26. Less than 1.5% of tweets using the hashtag #CancelHamilton actually want to cancel Hamilton. Let's go and see what the other 2,001 tweets have to say. It is staggering how many people are quick to criticize a movement that wasn't actually happening. 78% of tweets that got this hashtag trending in the first place were criticizing the fact that it was trending at all. Let's dive into the two most popular categories a bit more closely. It is clear there is a lot of vitriol around the idea of cancel culture. It seems many people criticizing cancel culture believe things have hit a point of absurdity. Here's a good example. This happened to be the most engaged with tweet I saw, with 37 times more favorites than the runner-up. Jesse Kelly and his followers has bought into this reality that cancel culture is out to tear down anything falling short of a glossy perfection. In addition to those who feel that people are reducing the world into some kind of false binary, some saw this as an opportunity to needle the left. Quite a few "give the left what it deserves," "liberals eat themselves," the like. Once again, it is worth pointing out that the left is not actually calling to cancel Hamilton. The frenzy around cancel culture has ballooned to the point where even thinking or talking about it is enough to trigger these intense reactions. folks using the hashtag to come to Hamilton's defense tended to focus on a few different arguments. Some pointed out that Alexander Hamilton in the show isn't portrayed as some beacon of moral righteousness, so it isn't necessarily glorifying the figure. Some pointed out how transformative the show has been for bringing visibility and jobs to Black and Indigenous people of color on Broadway. Some even pointed out other Broadway shows they found more troubling, such as Phantom of the Opera. All of them believed that Hamilton was doing far more good than harm, and were frustrated with how short-sighted they perceived the campaign to be. So, if nobody actually agrees with this, how did the hashtag come to be? So far as I can see, it has two primary starting points. One is a New York Post article published July 2nd. This would fall into the category of content criticizing cancel culture, as it pokes at the woke police to sharpen their pitchforks. Simply putting the idea out there on the internet was enough to spark discussion until a hashtag took on a life of its own. Maybe this isn't terribly surprising. It is about a hot topic political issue, the biggest smash musical maybe ever, and everyone is still stuck inside due to quarantine to add more fuel to the fire. I also do want to point out that there is one voice generally moving to cancel Hamilton. Rosa Clemente, a vice presidential candidate under the Green Party, first used the hashtag on June 28th and created a petition to have the musical blocked from Disney Plus on July 1st. In addition to criticizing its depiction of folks involved with slavery, she has some more personal issues with Lin-Manuel Miranda's relations with Puerto Rico. She even went so far to suggest that Lin-Manuel Miranda was paying people off to defend his show. I find her views hard to swallow, but I felt it was only fair to address the one corner of the internet truly calling to cancel Hamilton. I wanted to close with Lin-Manuel Miranda's thoughts on the topic. This was in response to a thread stating, "Hamilton is a flawed play about flawed people, written by an imperfect person, that gave my flawed and imperfect little life a big boost when I needed it most." In a very classy move, Lin-Manuel Miranda quickly addressed why he made the show the way he did, while actively encouraging the criticisms that were being levied. He single-handedly managed to give more legitimacy to this discussion than all of the 2,027 tweets that got it trending did. Maybe someday I'll talk some more about cancel culture. I know it is a very touchy subject, and I think it would be a good topic to look at more quantitatively. But the noise surrounding it has clearly grown to a point of hysteria. If you want to dive into the conversation, make sure it is rooted in truth and reality first. If, on the other hand, you just want to stick with fantasy, at least try to find a more entertaining part of Twitter to hang around. Thanks again for watching. All the tweets I used are available in the description, along with the other data I used. Take a peek if you like. Just a few notes on this one. While I was not able to get a completely unbiased sample of tweets, I feel comfortable that the selection I used was fairly representative of the full population. After all, it's not as if people are ever quick to get off their high horse on social media. While I may have put some tweets in the wrong categories, I'm pretty confident that it was not more than 2%. Here's what the graph would look like with some error bars. Still, I think it's safe to say that nobody is really looking to cancel Hamilton. Finally, I want to explain why I put a certain style of tweet in the troll category. Anyone who called the show racist for casting Black and Indigenous people of color as white characters, I immediately labeled as a troll. Yes, there is a growing movement that white people playing characters of different race is a bad and racist thing. No, the argument doesn't go both ways. The quickest explanation has to do with the definition of racism. When someone in a position of power and privilege uses that power to deny opportunity or humanity to a marginalized group, that is a huge problem. Casting Black and Indigenous people of color as characters who are traditionally white is not burying a race of people, and therefore is not racist in the sense of the word. If you want to hear more, there are a bunch of other resources on this very topic. I'm taking this horse by the reins, making red coats running bloodstains. I'm gonna never stop.